I'm very, very pleased and honored to have been asked to begin this celebration today, the celebration of the formal inauguration of the Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center. I'm here this morning not because I can claim to have had any role in formulating the vision or making that vision a reality in the center's now very impressive concrete presence across the street here on the Boston City map. Rather, I'm here as a non-Muslim, as an outside and interested observer, to add my voice to the festivities, first because of my pleasure in the success of the efforts of so many in this room this morning to effect the creation of the center despite many obstacles and much undeserved outside intervention. Second, because of the 40-odd years I have devoted to studying and teaching about the Islamic religious and cultural traditions, which I care a great deal about. Third, and most of all, because of my firm belief in the American ideal of a civil society and polity in which men and women of every background, every race or ethnicity, every national origin or mother tongue, and every religious faith or philosophical stance can educate their children as they see fit and find a home and a place to raise their families, pursue their own work, and pursue happiness as equals before the law. The center's existence seems to be emblematic of this ideal, and I fully expect that it is going to make significant contributions, likely unique ones that no one has yet imagined or even dreamed of, to the American civic vision itself in the coming years, even as it fulfills its primary mission of serving the Boston Muslim community. I say this because if any impartial person considers our country's history a bold experiment with populist democracy, now for more than 2 centuries, he or she would have to affirm the perceptivity of the famous French visitor Alexis de Tocqueville in the 1830s, when he marveled at American voluntarism, as he called it, and saw here a multitude of citizens, as he put it, who are regulated, temperate, moderate, farsighted masters of themselves. And when he argued that what he called their habits of the heart derived much from the voluntary civil, including religious associations that dotted our landscape and cityscape then as they do today. In de Tocqueville's view, in contrast to Europe, active religious faith as a major source of American voluntary organization and voluntarism worked harmoniously with populist democracy. He noted that every American he asked would say that, quote, a civilized society, but above all a free society, cannot subsist without religion, which is the greatest guarantee of the stability of the state and the security of individuals. The sustaining of which, he goes on, depends wholly upon the voluntary principle. Religious associations and ethnic groups have contributed to our society through voluntary institutions that were intended to serve their co-religionists or their fellow members of their ethnic group. But in doing so, they have ended, and they still end, by serving the vibrancy of American society as a whole. They bring what my Harvard colleague Robert Putnam has famously called social capital, on which our unique democratic society is based. Muslim communities have long played their parts in bringing this social capital in this country, but up to recent years, usually only visibly so in a handful of communities scattered across the country, those particularly with large immigrant populations. That has changed and is still changing. Now they are becoming as much a part of the American landscape and citizenry as other longer established religious groups have done and are doing. This splendid Islamic center will, I predict, become a fine example of the flourishing religious communities representing all the world's great traditions of faith that will help us build the social capital of 21st century America. Social capital that we will need to meet the challenges we will surely face as a nation in coming years. Stereotypes and caricatures of Islam as incompatible with democracy or pluralistic societies abound in our media and all around us today. It is incumbent on all persons of goodwill and intent, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, to help us move beyond all such distortions of the great tradition. It is my hope and belief that the Islamic Center here will demonstrate by its good intentions, goodwill, good sense, and continuing outreach to all citizens of Greater Boston, both the power for personal and societal good that Muslim faith has been and can be, and also the immense capacities that American Muslims have for making our great society and polity still greater. The generations that will follow us are going to have to learn not simply to tolerate persons of other faiths, orientations, or ethnicities, but to work alongside them on tasks critical to the very survival of this and every nation, the human race, and indeed the planet Earth. We face right now such evils as violence, greed, poverty, and frequent failure of leadership at home and abroad. And in the long run, we face overtaxed resources, healthcare issues, overpopulation, an endangered natural world, religious, ethnic, and political fanaticism and intolerance, and unrelenting global conflict everywhere we look. Never has it been more critical for all persons and communities of goodwill to pull together and focus their common resources on our common problems, the problems confronting all of humanity. I have never been a great fan of so-called interfaith dialogue, largely because such dialogues too often turn into either a pair of self-satisfied and self-satisfying monologues, or a simplistic insistence on the other hand that all religions are really the same when they demonstrably are not. Dialogue is crucial, but we best learn and teach others, I believe, to treat persons of different faith, race, or color with respect, not by focusing on our otherness or their otherness, but by addressing some common problem, be it intellectual, spiritual, societal, political, or environmental, and addressing it side by side with those we consider other, that is, by trying to tackle the problem that faces us together. In focusing not on each other and our religious or ethnic differences, but instead on an issue important to both of us, we make the experiential discovery that for all our differences, and sometimes because of them, we are finally all human beings who can bring intelligence, strong values, hard work, and unselfish dedication to bear on whatever we are facing together.